Yeah, for sure. And since this is such a weird time for everybody, I like to make positive music, and I like to make rock music and keep it upbeat. I think rock music nowadays tends to be uh, either really pretentious or really sad and depressing. And I like to put the positivity back in rock music, the way it was in say early 80s when rock music was all about feeling good and feeling happy, or some of it was, and nowadays none of it seems to be.
Times.
Yeah, completely. Perfect question. That's exactly what it is. A few different things happened, but one I like to talk about a lot was that I had sort of discovered the difference between me uh, working on my previous records as a solo artist and working with other artists in the as a producer, and I realized that my role as a producer was really different from the way I used to work in the studio as a solo artist. Um, and in many ways, I prefer being a producer in that sense. So I tried to find a way to bring this guy producer Jett Rebel into my own solo record, and that kind of worked out. So as well as getting exactly what I wanted and what I think every particular song needed, I was able to let the player Jett Rebel uh, have some joy in the studio as well. It's a little weird talking about myself and all these sort of different personalities, but that's kind of how I how the whole creative process is going. So since I play and record all this stuff myself, uh, different players, which is all me obviously, seem to take on different roles. So I might, come in one morning in the studio, which is in my house, and know that today I'm the drummer, and then there's different types of drummers, different types of guitar players, and then there's the producer, and he was very present in the recording of this record, and for the better, I think. So I'll tell you what I don't like. Actually, I don't like when songs are too far fetched. I like when there's something real to it, something pure to it. So nowadays, a lot of people tend to collaborate, and they don't appear to have something else in common, but we want to make a big hit, or we want to make some money together, or whatever. So you have these people from totally different worlds, and obviously that can be a good thing too. But I like to write with somebody that I have something in common with, or can share something intimate with, or whatever. So that it's still pure. Personally, I like my favorite artists. Like, um, I tend to be into solo artists a lot, because I like to feel like when I listen to a record, I'm in this person's head completely. Like I'm in this person's world. So I like band music too, obviously, but I tend to lose myself in a solo record. So that's what my records are like as well. It's I try to let somebody into my head, and to be able to do that, it would be weird to write with somebody else, to me at least. But I have written songs with other people, and Lately, I've written with Daryl Hall a little bit for new music that we're making, and um, we have a lot in common, and we seem to really understand each other. So that's been just wonderful and beautiful to be able to write with him. Actually, I've changed my methods a while ago, but I haven't really released a record since I've done so. So it used to be I I I built this studio, and then I'm gonna record a song, and I put up whatever I need for this song, record the song, and start over. And I got really sick of that way of working for a number of reasons. Uh, One in particular being that when I when I have a whatever when I have a really good drum sound for one song, then I really hated the fact that then, I wouldn't be able to have that drum sound for the other one because I had to set everything back up again. Another reason being that if you have to set everything up in this manner, and you have a creative idea, for instance, I'll say like I want to record this acoustic piano, but I don't have any mic set up at the moment, then maybe I'll decide to do it on a keyboard or decide to do it on the guitar that I have, standing next to me or whatever. So I I I think that's a shame. So what I do nowadays is I set up the studio with everything in. So I have the drum set up. I have all the keys set up. I have a lot of keys, and they're all set up. The guitars are there. I have amps set up, mic set up, and everything's there. And then this will take like weeks or months to get that sound right. And then everything's available. So if I decide to do this or that, then I can just it's there. And it doesn't mean that every song will sound the same, but at least the same quality will be available for every instrument. Like you can still make a specific drum sound or decide to use this and that, but you'll be able to get as good a sound as you had in the last song you did. So I really like that, especially for the creative flow, because everything's available all the time. Of course, to be able to do this, you'll need a studio where you can have everything, and that's a good thing about working by yourself, because everything's set up all the time because it's in my house. So I know that I as a before I could walk, I used to crawl to the guitar in the living room and try to play the guitar. And then when I could pull myself up, I used to pull myself up on the keys of the piano and play like this. So I always say I played before I could walk. And then I the first instrument that I got apart from the living room piano and my father's guitar was a drum kit, and I was 4 or 5. Um, but I know I did play piano before I played the drums, so I don't really know. I think piano might still be sort of my first real instrument that I could actually play songs on, and I was really into rock and roll music, so I used to play Elvis songs and stuff like that. Um, I know that being a multi instrumentalist was always the idea. I think that from as early on as I can remember, I've always wanted to be able to play a full band and record like that. And that idea really came from finding out that that was the way that Stevie Wonder used to do it. Like '70s Stevie Wonder records when it's all him. Um, I found out pretty early on that that was all him, and I used to really, I still love those records very much. And then it was like, I need to be able to do this, the multi-tracking and so on. So I started recording. I don't know. I think I was about 3 or 4 when I start tried to record stuff with cassette desks and stuff uh, and tried to multi-track cassette recorders. So I have recordings from as early as 4 or 5 multi-track stuff. So I'm multi-tracking, like before I had the drum kit, like little pieces of drums and piano and guitar and vocals or whatever. It's funny. Well, my father is knows a lot about art, and he has always taught me a lot about art, and we have always talked a lot about art. So it's, on one hand, it's easy to work with him because we share a lot of the same opinions. On the other hand, it's we both feel about it very strongly and very passionate about these types of things. So there's two sides of that coin in that sense, but I'm very proud of those covers that he did, and I have both of those in my house. So that's a wonderful thing that we got to do that together. Yeah, for sure. There never was any doubt that I'd be in music, and I wanted to be in music, and that was okay. And I know uh, so many kids don't don't grow up in a family where that seems to be a possibility. It's like find a job where you can make a lot of money, or find a job where you can become this or that. And in my family, it's about art and music a lot. I think my parents, yeah, would have. Well, I don't know, but anyway, it was never a problem, and it was, well, I don't know. I think a lot of people think that I was pushed as a kid because I started so early on, but that that never really happened. It was more or less just that was what I did, and everybody accepted it and sort of was fine with it. From what I can remember, like uh, my first idols were Elvis and and the Beatles. So records like King Creole, that's a big one to me. I had a few. Yeah, well, I had everything Elvis. I was all about Elvis back in the day. I used to have the hair as a kid, and pretty much I think my identity as a teen, as like no, that's not a teen. Like I was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I used to wear the hair like that, and then it was just like, oh yeah, that's the little Elvis kid. So I was all about Elvis. I wanted to be, well, I didn't want to be Elvis, but I wanted to be something similar to that. And then the Beatles. So I think I think to me, like, I love every Beatle record, but as far as inspiration goes, it's really about Sergeant Pepper and Abbey Road, because these are such sort of story records. Like um, every song has its own identity. Like I love Revolver, I love Rubber Soul, and that's as a whole, there's a sound to the record, but then you go into Sgt. Pepper, and every song has its own sound, and I've always loved that so much about it. So many of my records are like that too, and then people say it's weird because you're just the one guy, and every song sounds sort of like a different band. And to me, it's not that strange because I'm coming from that neighborhood where a record like Sgt. Pepper is a normal record, or A Wizard, a True Star, Todd, which is one of my favorite records of all time, where you can go into Philly soul medley out of a psychedelic masterpiece, and I really love those types of records. So I'd put Wizard of True Star up there because it's one of my favorites, and then I have a broad taste of music, but Songs in the Key of Life is one of my favorite records. I love Bat Out of Hell so much. I love Rumors so much, and there's a lot of I love all those big classic 70s records. I mean, but you know, my all-time heroes, that'll be Brian Wilson and Todd. So that's Pet Sounds and Smile and A Wizard, a True Star and Something Anything. I was happy with the earlier question about the positivity in my first single, and this record is all about that. I hope that people get a positive feeling out of it, because that's what it's supposed to bring up, and maybe think about certain things. It's all about this time that we are living in, and my thoughts about it, and other people's thoughts about it as well. So I hope I hope it will make people happy. That's basically it. So obviously everybody uses 421s, and I've used 421s for years. I'm a real big fan of the 21s, the MD 21s. I've used those on guitars and whatever, but on toms, whatever. But that has also been my main room mic for drums, and probably the main drum mic on my new record, since that was the mono drum room. So that's like the big one there. I love the MKH 40s on piano, and I won't ever use anything else on piano. If it's a grand or an upright, it's always the MKH 40s. But I use those on guitar, acoustic guitar as well. Those are probably actually my favorite mics, the MKH 40 and the MD 21. I wouldn't be able to live without those.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to see more videos just like this.